to kill that fucking cricket. I'm going to find that thing, and I'm going to...
He's going to be on it. He's on it.
Guest starring this cricket. Welcome back,
Crunch
everybody.
Dog Larry and that fucking cricket. That's how we should just begin.
And that dog.
It's Crunch Dog and Larry and the fucking cricket. I'm gonna start throwing shit at him.
Mm-hmm. There's a
Good.
dog. We got the train. It's
That's what happens when it's uncontained.
yeah.
That's the way it should be. Especially on Crunch Dog and Larry.
That's why we record outside. September 4th. Shout out to my mom. It's my mom's birthday.
Oh, happy
Crunch
birthday,
Dog's mom.
Crunch Dog's mom.
Yep. And
How old is she?
67 years old.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. She's
She's just around my mother's age.
carries it well. The moms.
They do. My mother lost 100 pounds.
No shit.
It's amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to moms.
Yeah, how'd she do it?
She had surgery.
Okay, she did like the...
But then she kind of bought in and has struggled and battled her way through it. And
Right on.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a little while until she's all the way there.
Okay.
So it was a lot of weight to lose fast. But, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe she did it.
She feel good?
She feels extraordinary.
Awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
That's what fucking matters.
And how was your mother's birthday today?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had all the cousins around. There's 5 kids running around. And my brother.
That
My
always
parents.
makes moms happy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Get the
Watch your
grandkids.
grandkids running around. Look at all these kids.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I
It's
can't wait
rude.
for those days. I hope for those days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want like 1 million grandkids, but then I want to be able to be like, bye.
Yeah. Definitely want that. You're right. The place. Yeah, all the kids want to come, and then all the kids got to go home. And
Yeah, and then we'll just tidy up and go on with our retiree lives.
hopefully we'll have that system down. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Another Monday.
Shit. Another Monday episode after Labor Day weekend. Shout out to the labor folks,
Seriously.
whoever you may be.
I've never
one
understood that
sitting
one.
right
Who's
here.
that? Who's that talking to? They're
Yeah.
just like, hey, everyone that has a job, good day.
Yeah, you
Like-
did it. You made it through. You get a day. You get 1 day off.
Labor Day.
Yeah, give
It's
the labor some day.
it's one that I've just, it's a great day to have. We, as laborers, always need that. But for me, that's a specific person. Like, you're slaughtered if you're a laborer.
Yeah, that's the proletariat. That's
It's an odd way to frame it for me.
Mhm.
Give me free money though. I like paid holidays.
Yeah, if there's a Labor Day expert out there, we'll talk to you. Come on, tell us all about Labor Day.
Seriously, there has to be more to it.
Roosevelt.
My history is bogus on Labor Day. I need to be enlightened.
But I loved it, and I appreciated the day off.
Oh, everyone needs an extra day,
Mhm.
especially this time of the year. Hopefully, you can get out and get some things done around the place or outside or however it may be for you.
Yeah.
It's an excellent day to do labor, which I always thought was the odd. It's a Labor Day. And that's
Now it's
the day
time to
that I
actually get out
definitely
and-
remember having to rake the yard every day. Or my dad would be like, oh,
Maybe
Labor
that's
Day.
the ultimate. It's like the ultimate troll is now
Maybe-
people that don't
maybe-
labor.
Maybe that's what it is.
They go and labor on Labor Day to commemorate the people that did labor to.
Just
For
shout out to all
us.
you lazy asses to get up off the
Get up
couch.
and rake your fucking lawn.
That's funny. They should have that in the winter when there's like a foot of snow and people don't want to go shovel their sidewalks because they I don't know why.
Yeah.
I would like to go and pile it up in front of the houses of people that never go out and shovel their front walk.
Oh, their walks. Yeah. No, that's illegal.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
people don't really care. They're people that's never enforced. Ever enforced. Why would it be? Except like in the city, where you can, you save your parking spot with a chair, and if people take it, then you can use a brick or whatever. And they say, "Don't do that." But everybody
Tisk.
knows, it doesn't really matter what they said once there's a brick sitting in your front window or your windshield, however it may be. I don't miss those days living in the city.
People wait through bricks through the fucking.
Yeah.
If you didn't shovel your
out
walk.
the spot, you save it with your lawn chair.
Yeah.
And then someone comes and moves your lawn chair and takes the spot.
Oh.
then yes.
You get a brick through your fucking windshield. Yeah.
Man. Well, there's a plethora of things that people would do to you. That was one. But there was a crackdown. Like, oh, you can't hold your place with a lawn chair anymore.
Right. Which is bullshit. That's like an unspoken Boston law. I don't know about other like snowy cities, but that lawn chair is like gospel. You don't fuck with the lawn chair.
If it's a meter, I say fuck.
If it's a meter, you're an asshole. If you put a lawn chair there. I mean, I'm talking about just like
if you're on a side street in front of your house.
Yeah, and you shovel the spot.
Yeah, if it's on your street. Right, but I mean, people get mad about lots of weird shit when it comes to that.
Yeah. Snowy day, you get fucked around at work too much, and then you have to come home and some asshole parked in your spot.
Or just the off chance. It's like, listen, I really had to do something here. This spot was open. You forgot to put your lawn chair out. You're very upset about this lawn chair that was not here when I parked, but you're very upset now.
Is this a metered spot?
I'm not supposed. You can't tell me that you know.
Oh shit! Hold on.
What's going on?
We got a call.
Huh?
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. I'm going to turn you up a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking to?
My name is Joshua Avraham Shekelberg. You can just call me Josh. Or
Okay.
Abe.
All right, Josh.
What's up?
What's happening tonight?
Oh, nothing. I'm just sitting back here. I don't have any of that good stuff, so I'm just drinking some water, drinking some alcohol, and getting ready for the week ahead. You know.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to have a day off, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was nice. Biked around a little bit. Took a look at the scenery.
You around? What area are you from now?
I'm from the United States. I'm from the Southeast.
All right.
Southeast United States.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said your name is Joshua Avraham Shekelberg?
Yeah, Avraham.
Avraham with a V.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
I did not catch that distinction, I have to admit.
You can be forgiven.
Thank you. Why don't you, I don't know, go ahead and introduce yourself. What do you want to tell us about yourself tonight?
Well, Antifa have been in the news a lot lately, and I know we got to chatting because I'm from a background, politically, where years and years ago, thankfully, I'm moved very far away from that rigmarole and that scene now. But there was a long time ago, when that was kind of the group that I associated with. It wasn't called Antifa at the time. It was just, anarchists, Black Bloc, things like that. But it's interesting to see it all in the news. Between that and some other aspects of leftist politics in the news, it feels very much like a family fight that has now gone public, and like everyone is like, all these weird things we used to say that were kind of off the wall, and we said them because they were off the wall and crazy, are now getting debated in the public sphere. The public sphere is kind of serious ideas, and it's kind of mind blowing. But
all right, how long? Now you said many years ago. How long ago, more or less, was this? Like what range or so?
Oh, geez, I suppose I was active in that scene maybe between around 2001 to 2004. And when I mean active, and the reason I say it's the same scene is because the Antifa, as it's branded today, is named after the movement in Europe, but I see it as really just a rebranding of Black Bloc as it goes in the States, because when there was Antifa in Europe, there was also, later on, there's sort of a model of that in the States referred to as anti-racist action, which they did the same thing. They would go out to Klan rallies and bust heads, but
so it's always
being that.
Would you say there's always been like that sort of violent underpinning to it?
Oh, well, I mean, the Black Bloc was always about mostly just smashing up property and fighting with cops in the name of fighting global capitalism. It wasn't so much directly about racism, but the reason I say that it's that the Antifa of today are more ideological areas of the Black Bloc than the anti-racist action is that the ARA, they didn't wear masks on their face. They came out, they confronted the open racists with their shouts and with fists, but they did it openly. Whereas the tactics of Antifa today it looks like Black Bloc redux.
Okay, ninjas though.
Yes, literally ninjas. I mean, I would say that no. I think it's mostly like, I mean, when I was involved in it, I was in college age, and we would go to kind of, when I was involved in Black Bloc, I would just travel around protest, and I know this is very damning for because there's right wingers who accuse us of this. At least when I was a young lad, that's what we would do, is travel from protest to protest and try into a riot. It was for fun, did it because we were young men and we wanted to, how tough we were and what, and that definitely was. That's what I find being part of that scene. It's basically little.
Hold on a sec. We're getting some connection trouble here. Hold on one second. Yeah, they just zeroed in on the signal and they're shutting you down.
Shutting it down. They don't like.
Call me on my cell.
Okay, I'll give that a try.
Okay. Sorry, folks. We're gonna switch to the cell phone. We'll get this down.
Goddamn internet.
Mm-hmm. Just when it was getting good.
I know. That's okay. We'll fill everybody in because I think we got a little bit more of the bits and pieces than what everybody else was. He was saying that, basically, when he was young, it was sort of the Black Bloc mentality to travel from place to place.
Yep.
And
try to
see how riled up they could get the place, see where everyone was at. So it was, at least back then. So to me, what I want to get into is...
Hello?
He's back with us now.
He's back, all right.
So do you think, just to jump right back into it, that now, from those days of yore, let's say, when it was about, just in the beginning, when nothing was really being highlighted, and it was just kind of more regular, strict anti-protest, that those kind of older generation now have kind of changed and manipulated the message, or is it just the same movement continuing on?
Well, I feel like it's in a way it's sort of rebranded because anti-globalization protests aren't, de rigueur. They're not really the thing that catches the public imagination today, and so, I'm sure that back then, if there had been some fascist fight, we would have done it then too, but no, I just think it's the same current of, just mostly young, mostly men wanting to kind of be the hero of their own story. And I think this is very similar. I'm sort of ripping off an article I read the other day, but I think this is very similar on the right also. I think a lot of the people, a lot of the folks on the right, coming out to the Unite the Right rally, things like that, is also young men who want to go show how, be the hero of their story and start a fight. And,
Can you tell us? Can you tell us as much as you can about how you personally got drawn in?
Yeah, sure. I came up with a very liberal background, and going to protest was kind of part of my education. But peaceful, nonviolent. It was only when I got into high school and fell into sort of the anarchist scene via
anti-establishment,
the social justice stuff, and it was the people who did it full time. And in that scene, they had again another thing that I think is kind of, at least that I saw in that scene that I now see in the broader scene or in the mainstream, is there was a kind of purity politics, virtue signaling that he wanted to be the most badass and the most angry and the most violent, etc. And even if you weren't actually violent, you at least wanted to pretend you were.
Does that translate into what's now known as identity politics?
No, because most of the people in that group, I mean, yeah, there was identity politics, but most of the people in that group were young, middle class white folks.
Okay.
And so we couldn't really trade in identity politics until transgenderism was invented. But I suppose maybe that's a topic for another day.
Okay.
But it does seem to be just a bunch of 20 to 30 white guys.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part. And of course, people don't like generalizations because they say, oh, well, this person's black and that person's over 30 or whatever. But you can look at the crowds, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy to see.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more or less what I saw at the at Boston at the Common when I saw the modern Antifa group.
I mean, they had their...
I imagine that while there were probably a lot of other people there, probably the ones who looked the most eager to go start a scrap are young men.
And to a point, that's interesting because they have the least to lose. So
yeah,
I guess that's
I remember saying that. Why does everyone? Why do people grow up white in this country and are so pissed off? Like, what is there to be that upset about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that for a lot of these things, I mean, if there had been I think for a lot of people, it's almost like some aspects of it are almost like it's like the anti-capitalist, anti-racist, anti-imperialist army. Like if there was an army these folks could go join, I think they would go join it, like a lot of these young men. But, you can't join the army, obviously, because of whatever reason, because of political reasons. And so you got to find your own way to prove, how hard you are. And I see that a lot in the Antifa, at least.
That makes a lot of sense.
But,
was it just a idyllic ennui?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really a lot. There wasn't really. It was kind of the best show in town, and also it was exciting. It was fun. It's kind of like participating in sports. You got to travel around. You got to, I'm gonna say, meet lots of other young people. Women among them. And then you get to be like a gladiator or something, and also you get free reign to just kind of start shit with people and just kind of cause a ruckus. It's like, what's not to like when you're a 19-year-old drunk? I mean, why not? It's pretty fun. But yeah, no. But over time it became. I mean, I couldn't keep it up indefinitely because. And I think people will see a lot of this who are in this scene now is that politics of escalation and of who can be the most badass and hardcore. It's exhausting. You can't do it forever, and also it's kind of antithetical to having it's like a monastic lifestyle. I mean, you have to.
Sounds like Fight Club.
How about Fight Club?
It sounds like Fight Club.
I think that would be a healthier outlet in a lot of ways.
That's why people do MMA now.
Well,
no, I think those are very similar. I think they're very similar threads. And in fact, you will see some people. There was some crossover from Black Bloc anarchist scene to MMA and back, and other things like Muay Thai, stuff like that.
So how old were you then at the end when the whole veneer started to crack for you, and what was that process like?
I was about 20, 21, and through personal changes in my own life, I was no longer able to. I was foisted with more responsibility in my own life. I had that sort of enter my life, and I could no longer keep up the lifestyle of the vagabond, fight starter.
Tyler Durden. Yeah. It's just, no, that's...
Yeah. What'd you say?
No, it just sounds like right. It's the same lifestyle, right? Of kind of flying around. Or would you fly, or would you guys drive from place to place and just kind of?
Never fly. Always, drive, hitchhike, if ride a bus perhaps. But typically, if you're going to like a protest or something, there would be a group of people. I lived in a place where there was a large contingent of people like me who would travel around up and down the coast. Some of the, I think probably the most notable protest or demo, whatever you want to call it, went to was in Miami in about 2000. I don't know if it was 4, and that was for the free trade area, the Americas protest. And that one was probably the most grim in the sense that the police weren't playing around, and it wasn't in a city like New York or DC. It was a lot of liberal media and people watching. Nobody was watching. The police were ready to rumble. But I digress. How I got out of it was that it was just once you can't just do that kind of party lifestyle, you kind of fall out of the scene. And you start to interest yourself in other things. And one of the things is that if you can't stay in the scene all the time, you start to talk to people who are out of the scene. And when you talk to other people and you start to hear other people's worldviews, and if you can stop demonizing them for a second as being, brainwashed, normies, sheep, whatever, and just, say, hey, maybe these people have other priorities in their life and anarchist utopia doesn't interest them, then, the world starts to look a lot broader. But,
what does the anarchist utopia look like?
The anarchist utopia, there's no cops. Everybody somehow organizes themselves. There's no cops and there's no government, but also there's magically no despots because when you think of this,
sounds like there would be a cull. Would there be a cull?
A cull. That was more on the communist side. The anarchist one was so poorly envisioned. It was more like an idea of what they did not want. There was no clear vision of what they did want beyond something having to do with collective schools during the Spanish Civil War or something. It really was extremely vague.
Okay, so they pluck things from different parts of history and say, oh, they did this in education here and they did this in healthcare over there. And they're all really. I mean,
it wasn't even that coherent. It wasn't even that coherent.
Okay.
I mean, it was. There really wasn't a clear vision of what. I mean, because a lot of the jokes we made about libertarians that we made about anarchists too. That if you really want to go live in a place, without a government, you can go to Somalia now, and that utopia already exists. You can go there.
Yes, I've heard that too. It's called a third world country. Yes, you can, right.
Yeah, I mean, there's places, what happens is that somebody has a good number of guns and they have a lot of strong friends, and then they seize control of some area, and now you're serf. And so, the anarchy doesn't exist in equilibrium. It doesn't have its spaces.
Yeah, there's a reason why we veered away from feudalism and veered away from that type of despotic playground.
Well, it kind of is a little bit of the birth of America, where we're kind of sick of being serfs and, the whole religion thing too. But I think it was more like we're sick of being under your thumb.
Seemingly, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Neither was I, obviously. But
yeah.
I mean, it's very religious. The anarchist thing is very religious. It doesn't... To say what was the plan, what was the utopia look like? I mean, what does the rapture look like? What does the revolution look like? It's somehow everything bad is swept away, and then we're left with the second coming of some mythical past where everything was good. But I don't know if I'm getting too far away from the topic of Antifa, but...
No, this is great.
That kind of dovetailed into what we were talking about before, where, it's kind of like what we're seeing is almost like the remnants of the Civil War being played out again, where it's you're taking down the Robert E. Lee statue, at least in Charlottesville, and that's what, because this Antifa stuff hasn't really hit, a lot of people before, and it seems like it's been around for a lot longer than a lot of people know about. And it's just, isn't that being played out again? Or is that the last,
Yeah, and that's what you started with, Josh, is...
Gasp of both parties.
Yeah. And now this is getting played out in the public sphere. So have any good ideas been carried forward?
Like from the Antifa?
Yeah, or just that as this conversation gets played out in the public sphere, like you described, what benefits are the public reaping from this conversation, or from what's to be gained here?
Well, ironically, I think there's a serious consideration of the idea of freedom of speech that maybe we haven't considered for a long time. I tend to part ways with the Antifa on this question a lot, because I do believe the reason I support free speech, even for in some cases people like the Klan or whoever, even though I don't really, is because it's easy when the other person's speech is unpopular to condemn it. But when your speech is unpopular and people want to come and throw bricks at you, then it becomes, all of a sudden, free speech seems like a really good idea. And right now, the left is on top. The culture wars in some ways, if not in politics. And it's great to come up with your gang and shut down the other guy. But I mean, I will say that Charlottesville is the first action of the Antifa that I basically wholeheartedly support, because for something to be anti-fascist, there have to be actual fascists. Not just Milo Yiannopoulos or Charles Murray. There has to be somebody who's actually a fascist. And Charlottesville really did come out. They self-described as fascist. And while normally I'm thinking a lot about this, but I thought, these people want a race war. And so when they say they want a race war, then this isn't just a speech act at this point. I mean, it is a speech act, but they're saying they want a race war. And I say, well, okay, so if you want to wipe me out, if you want to have a fight, I guess I'm going to start now while you're as weakest. If you're talking about you want to wipe me out, if you want to have an actual race war, and that's your platform, well then I'm not instigating a war here.
You mean you mean an Aryan thing?
Yeah. Like, that's why I'm saying that while I don't support a lot of the stuff Antifa has been doing over the last year, that people under the banner of Antifa, because obviously it's not an actual organization. In Charlottesville, I did support it because I'm like, well, if the white nationalists want to come out and call for a race war, effectively you started it, like.
True.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Battle lines were drawn. They came out in their riot gear. It was on. Yes.
And the police were nowhere to be found. That's the other part about that, is that the police were told to stand down. So the only people standing against them was,
they created a zoo and
the coalition of yeah. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's craziness though, because I mean, then I read these articles about Antifa and they say, who's that guy who wrote, who that guy is who wrote the book? He's getting all that press now.
No.
Mike Bray or something.
What's the book?
Some guy wrote a book about history of Antifa, and he's getting interviewed in the New Yorker and the Atlantic and the New York Times and every other. He was really well timed with this book. I mean, this was basically bullseye in terms of marketing, but.
Yeah, he's some fucking grifter who just decided to publish his book right now.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
He's. I think the New Yorker said he's very. He has this intimate. He has intimate knowledge of the people he's writing about, if not critical distance.
No.
Basically to say like.
WikiLeaks on weed has the fucking WikiLeaks on weed has the critical information right here. This is the intimate shit.
That's true.
Right now.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So they're basically saying like he interviewed a bunch of his friends, like, and he's in the scene. But he said the point I'm trying to make is he said, people say that it's going to be a slippery slope, and once you run out of fascists, you're attacking other people. And he says, no, it's not true, because look at Antifa in the past. They've wound down after the fascists have gone away. The Antifa have kind of gone dark in those areas. But then at the end of this article, he said, you can find on in New Yorker or something. In this article, he says, well, I like to practice everyday anti-fascism or Antifa praxis, which is, telling your friends to check their privilege and, confronting people who do microaggressions and, ending friendships if people don't shape up or if they support Trump.
Just being
and I'm
immature twat.
So the slippery slope argument is 100% valid. You are now just finding friends who say like they don't like affirmative action or something, and now you're calling them fascists.
Well, and right, you're closing down your views, which, how can you, I like to have a round viewpoint of everything. That way I know what the fuck I'm talking about. That's how I like to think of it. And that just sounds like, shutting out, different modes of thinking. Like what you're saying, once you got out, you started to listen to how, normal folk or norms or however, we're referred to, get along and have to get along. And, it's... I don't know. It's
yeah. There's a good question of like, what's the end game? Like once you like say we do go on a killing spree and destroy all the fascists, quote unquote. Like, where do you go from there? I don't know.
Well, I guess you move on to the anarchist utopia somehow.
There would still be fascists, and then they would be entrenched, and then it would be, it would be worse. I don't want to be anti-violent, but for me in government, we already have rules drawn, but we need to change them, and I don't know how to, and that's probably where this all comes from. It's just this breed of just repressed anger for something that can't be explained, and then you have Antifa or the people that are rising up against those people that for some reason have a lot of hate about other people. I just don't understand.
Yeah, and ironically, what would come next? You see on the Antifa logo, it has a black flag for anarchists and a red flag for communists.
Oh, yeah.
Ironically, if they did in fact come into power and kill all the fascists, if it was the communists that came into power, the next move would be to kill all the anarchists because communists don't suffer anarchists when they're in power.
No, and communism knows how to wield power, and as you've proven out with the religion metaphor, the anarchists have no idea how to wield power, and that's what it comes down to.
Partly why their movements are so kind of like non-functional. I mean, they're inherently non-functional.
But it's also the national discourse right now is.
But it'll never be able to hold sway, just like white supremacy will never be able to hold sway in our nation. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
It's this war of two things that will never happen, but we're all afraid that it's happening, but it's just this whole fear factor that's kind of taking over that's annoying to the rest of us, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say I don't think that, like, white supremacy is... I think that, ironically, as much as I'm not a huge supporter of, the gun craze in the States, I will say that one thing I do think that's a barrier to something like a fascist takeover government is the fact that so many people are armed to the teeth in the States. That that I see as the Second Amendment potentially working. I think it would be very difficult to have an armed takeover of the United States.
I think so. I would agree.
The trick is to get all the people with guns on your side, and then you don't have to do an armed takeover.
I mean, do you think?
Right, but that's not the way it is.
Do you think in the event of an invasion, in the event of a new enemy, people do tend to come together in those moments?
Yeah, and in terms of, I mean, an outside enemy would probably be great for the States. I mean, or for the world. I mean, look at
we have one. We have the longest.
Look at Will Smith. Look at that the scientist guy. They came together.
Well, we have the longest ongoing war conflict ever in our nation's history going on in Afghanistan.
Yeah, but they're not here.
That's true.
Yeah, they're not here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, ISIS could be someone that we all hate. I hope you all hate ISIS. What? Say one more time. I'm sorry.
I was only saying what we need is a nice on-soil invasion, foreign invasion.
Yeah, just
paratroopers dropping out of the sky. Seizing the radio stations, speaking in a foreign language over the radios, or Spotify, or whatever people are listening to these days.
The Soviets landing on the White House lawn, Trump taking off a face mask because he's actually really Putin, and it's been a double in Russia the whole time.
Yeah.
And the invasion starts right from the Capitol. There you go. I mean, that's a movie.
With the situation the States is in now, I don't even know what would mean, like, if the Soviets were landing on the lawn and Trump, pulled off a mask against Putin, Glenn Greenwald would be out here talking about how this is actually a good thing and how, like, you would still have woke Twitter would be going on about, oh, you're concerned about Trump really being Putin, but you don't care about cultural appropriation at McDonald's or whatever,
Yeah. This is what you get, America, for not being woke enough.
What's the
somebody
minutia?
would still find a way to do an end run around that and say, like, oh, well, you care about that, but you don't care about, whatever other thing.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's just lobbing stones. Yes. Well, yes, I don't do this, but you don't do that. And right, it comes down to the whole gridlock of our government, where it's just left on right crime, and nothing gets done.
What's your take, Josh? What's your take on the labeling of the domestic terrorism on Antifa now?
Oh, true.
I don't know how they could have. I mean, in a way, I don't know how they could avoid it. And the thing about that scene is, and this is the same as back when I was in it. I was just thinking earlier about how the term virtue signaling. Now I used to call it. Back then I would call it the who can talk more violent game of who can get on Facebook and be like, I fucking kill them, and this person should die a violent death and da 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 da. And when you look at the stuff with let's take for example the Milo Yiannopoulos Berkeley thing, or Weinstein over there, where's he, Evergreen College, places like that, Evergreen University. Basically, in these cases, the left has said, or some agents of the left have said, hey, by any means necessary, we can shut this down with force. And I hope you can put your money where your mouth is, because when you say you're going to shut other people down with force, I mean, you basically are a terrorist organization, right? I mean, I'm not.
The definition is using violence for political gain. And,
threatening too. I think you have to be threatening.
Terror,
And that,
and you have to have backed it up too.
Yeah. Apparently they've been working on it at the FBI for a while. This isn't just like a since Charlottesville thing, but the timing on this is
of course
alarming.
It's a since Charlottesville thing.
They probably hastened the process.
Well, I mean, the right wing is in power right now. I mean, it only makes sense to try to disempower anything that's extremely left.
Yeah.
I mean, that only makes sense.
Do you think that people are going to do it anyway, under risk of getting arrested and tried as a terrorist?
Maybe once or twice. I think if they hit people with some real serious charges, then you'll see this simmer down real fast, because most of the folks here are not that committed. Like I would wager most of the Antifa folks are not trying to go to jail for life. I mean, this isn't like the Black Panthers. They're not. Most of them can just walk away from them. They don't have. I mean, the Black Panthers, they were fighting for their communities. They were fighting for their lives. Most of these folks can walk away from this. They can go back to their I sound cliche, but they're back to their gender studies or whatever.
And
the sad thing about the whole labeling of the Antifa's domestic terrorist organization, which I'm sort of whatever on, is that I feel like it's going to make people say, oh, this is a domestic terror organization, when we've had white nationalist domestic terror organizations shooting people, blowing up buildings, threatening people, doing all kinds of stuff for decades, at least 2 or 3 decades, and it's just flown under the radar for so long. And so I hope people don't think like, oh my gosh, now we have domestic terrorism, because in fact, on balance, the right wing is doing, if you want to look at killings, they're doing 98% of them. And, while I don't support what the Antifa does, they're not out there killing people for the most part. And, I think it's a false equivalency to the same.
That's
fair. Yeah.
That's fair.
One thing that's curious, though, is the hammer and sickle. I mean, you were talking about communism and knowing how to control, and you read about communist governments and what they did, and how in a lot of cases they didn't necessarily kill on basis, mass murder on the basis of race, although Jews didn't fare too well in Soviet Russia, and but they did commit mass murder on the basis of political views. That they absolutely did, and they killed tens of millions, and I started to think a little seriously recently, saying, okay, wait a second, so if I say, oh, you want to have a race war, if you want to come out and support a swastika, then those are fighting words, and I don't care, First Amendment, whatever, to the side. You're saying you want to kill me. Well, let's start now. And I say, well, wait a second. What about somebody who comes out sporting a hammer and sickle? Because if I say I don't want to toe the line with communist ideology, if you want to criticize the party, whatever, I mean, that would be a death sentence in communist countries. And so, should I equally say, well, no, you all are not. You're just like a swastika. You're brandishing you're holding the standard of a mass murderers too. So should we be basically what they say, punch a Nazi? Everybody's a punch a Nazi. Should I punch a communist? If you send me a hammer and sickle, should you run up and smash them in the face?
Now, is that the hammer and sickle? Trying to frame this a little bit is a symbol of the Soviet Union. And communism, the argument there is that communism was poorly implemented, or was communism mixed with another thing that made it what it is. So would somebody be coming out against communism itself, or would they be coming out against the USSR?
Because that was very militaristic, how they...
Yeah. And you were in that scene, so what do people believe?
I mean, the funny thing is, I was in being on the anarchist side, I actually never had to pretend to agree with communists. While we would march in the same marches, we always would kind of, leer at each other and, ridicule one another. But in terms of, I mean, the anarchists probably have the cleanest hands here because they've never actually gotten anything done. But the communists, first of all, a lot of them do not just say, pure communism, but not the USSR. A lot of them do, have Twitter bios with pictures of Stalin, or they do in fact celebrate the USSR as a political entity. But even if you set that aside, the communist is, so far as I understand it, is a totalitarian ideology. A party comes into power, you control the state, and then, the workers, quote unquote, control everything. And then from the top down, you impose through force a new social order, which, argument can be made that most social orders are imposed by force one way or another. But I think that even when I talk to communists, I remember going to a protest one time, meeting a communist on the train, and they seemed pretty nice. This was in a New York subway. But we were asking her, what's the deal with the dictatorship of the proletariat? Because apparently after the revolution, there's going to be a dictatorship of the proletariat. And she said, I don't know exactly, but I know it's going to be okay. It's not bad. And I just said, I have a hard time understanding how this dictatorship is going to be good. And so...
well, that depends on the dictator.
I mean, you could talk about white nationalism and make some sort of twisted argument that you can't blame white nationalists for the crimes of the Nazis because they're a distinct group, and that white nationalism could in fact be positive because it just means having a white identity and a white homeland. I mean, I think that people who are Revolutionary Communist Party, etc., who want to just fully wash their hands of the USSR and the only examples of communism we have is a little disingenuous.
What about China? China seems to be a fully functioning, high-functioning, flourishing communist state. And nobody seems to ever talk about China.
And we don't know where all the bodies are buried, either.
No, we do. I mean, the Cultural Revolution, I'm pretty sure millions were killed.
Oh, yes.
And even today, there's only one party, and you can still be killed or imprisoned if you're a political dissident. And I mean, would you survive in China? Would I?
No, I'm not saying
we'd be taken away rapidly.
Not saying that China's good. I'm just saying it's a more successful communist state for sure. You can't even argue that.
It's entrenched. It's not imposed anymore.
As a nation, as just a straight up economic entity.
Yes.
I think some serious questions can be raised about how, if that's what communism looks like, is it, sweatshop workers jumping off buildings to their deaths, suicide while they, make in between
That's true.
iPhone 8 or whatever. I don't know if that's exactly the utopia that most of the communists you'll meet on the Twitter sphere or on the street will tell you they're going for either. They'll tell you, don't look at that one either. Probably is the bullet.
Yeah.
But that has some parallels between Soviet Russia and how we look at China now, right? I mean, we were kind of...
Yeah.
We weren't really paying attention to what... Go ahead.
My thought experiment was just, if somebody wears a hammer and sickle, is it equally okay to go smash them in the face? If they have the symbol of Soviet Russia.
That's an interesting question because the gut feel is that it's obviously not. It's obviously not okay in our current society with the current climate, cultural, and political. It's simply not. But why is it not?
I still don't understand why you would want to fly the hammer and sickle.
It happens a hell of a lot.
I know. No, it's
Many
still...
people do. If you see the Antifa rallies, there will be people with hammers and sickles and the red flag of, the Communist Party. RCP, Revolutionary Communist Party, will be there. International Answer, which is another communist organization, it's frequently at these protests. There are definitely communists there.
How much of this is just cosplaying? Is just role-playing a Dungeons and Dragons game where you get to be your class is communist?
Oh my God, that's a really good question. I see it characterized online a lot as LARPing, and I feel like that's a reasonable characterization. I think the accusation, for those who are not familiar with LARPing or live action role playing, like playing Dungeons and Dragons, like Call of Dressed Up, I think the accusation is that none of these people, whether it's for like the supremacists in Charlottesville or the Antifa, are actually affecting any meaningful political change. They're just kind of doing a primal scream in costume, and I think that's kind of true.
Yeah. Is that...
They are, however, affecting... I mean, like, if you look on college campuses or wherever else, they definitely... It's not the Antifa themselves. The culture and the climate of it are having serious, real effects. I mean, I think it would be foolish to say that, the Antifa are just this one little blip happening in a vacuum. That's the tip of a sort of...
now it's the tip of a domestic terrorism rap. You know what I mean? Now it's, well, like we were talking about earlier, now it's categorized as domestic terrorism. So, I mean, obviously it's become more of a thing for everyone to want to pay attention to one way or the other.
I mean, on one hand, this would be a reason for, at least the anarchists and the communists to celebrate, because they're actually getting taken seriously. They're being told it's not LARPing. Like, it's real stuff. So, I mean, say you were a revolutionary communist. If the state didn't see you as a terrorist threat, wouldn't that just be embarrassing?
That's true. I mean, but now we have so in Charlottesville we had Nazis marching and then Russians meeting them.
Yep. Yeah, Germany v. Russia again. So it's not the Civil War playing out again. It's just World War II continuing to play out.
It's just everyone that doesn't want to let it go.
1942 Battlefield Earth.
Yeah.
That must have been insane.
I think that we should get the American Gladiators thing going. Either that or dueling, maybe. Like some sort of way that, or just they can make football teams. Like, why can't the Antifa and the Nazis just straight up, just MMA?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
How about those places where everyone goes to dinner and then, like the knights come out and fight? But instead, yeah, you have meat and you don't have utensils and you just eat meat and watch people fight.
Did you guys see the liberal, the tolerant liberal or something, the professional wrestling character in one of the minor professional wrestling leagues? There's like a bad guy wrestler called like the tolerant liberal or something like that, and he comes out in
Oh my God!
comes out in horn-rimmed glasses, and everybody boos.
That seems, I think that's great.
Yeah, it is a pocket protector.
It's a good release. I mean, that's the thing. We should dig into the left a little bit here, because like that's the thing is there's this tisk culture around Antifa where everybody supports them ideologically, but then as soon as they step out of line, everybody's like, excuse me,
you should never punch anyone else in the face.
And I don't know what that serves or who that serves besides the enemy. Try like that. This false moral high ground where it's just on Twitter. You're not out there on the streets in Charlottesville. You're just tweeting at somebody, being like, "Now,"
and that's the to me the masses.
Yeah, the resistance.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like Charlottesville was the first, I think, significant Antifa kind of thing in the States recently that I've definitely supported. But I'm definitely one of the ones tisking. When it's Milo, or when it's Charles Murray, and he's going to get in debate with a liberal professor, and they hunt them down on campus, and then somehow end up sending her to the hospital, liberal professor that he's debating. I am definitely tisking this thing, like, fellas, and it's mostly fellas. What are you doing? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
You can go beat up a professor? Like, that's your and with regard to, I mean, there's a lot of hate being made about, like, are the Antifa and the Nazis, moral equivalents? And people saying, this is terrible, this is bad, why are they saying they're moral equivalents? Of course they're not. And I would say, no, they're not. But I also say, being better than a Nazi, that's not a terribly high bar.
Right. Everyone's kind of glossing over the fact that it was like, no, that person had a Nazi flag. It doesn't matter if this guy was wearing a mask and said he was Zorro. He wanted to fight that person, and that's right. We shouldn't have people marching saying I'm a Nazi and that Jews cannot replace us. Whatever the fuck that's supposed to be.
Yeah. Those people who are calling for race war, I say, okay, you want a war? Here we go. Let's do it now. I'd rather have it while they're at their weakest.
Yeah.
Than let them gather more strength. So, I mean, in that respect, maybe the Charlottesville Antifa didn't go far enough. I don't know. But, however, the other side was I mean, if one of the things I find remarkable about Charlottesville is that it wasn't a bloodbath. I mean, the white supremacists they could have killed dozens if they had decided to open fire. And so it's kind of, I'm surprised that they.
We heard about this one. We heard about this one militia group that kept like getting into the middle of the scene and then like quieting down the fighting and disrupting the fighting and then kind of going back. And were there? I hadn't heard about this. There was a lot of military or guys moving around with guns.
Yeah, I saw two groups. I saw the Lightfoot Militia.
Right.
In Charlottesville. I didn't see them personally, but I heard about them kind of cooling down things. And then I saw the Veterans for Peace in person. I saw them literally running and breaking up fights. And when the crowd would rush somebody, they would run up and go, Vets for Peace, and put their hands up. No violence, kind of stuff. So,
well, the Veterans for Peace are not armed. And they're also on the left, right?
Yeah, I think that's a fair characterization. I don't know specifically, but yeah, that's what I saw.
Well, there were right-wingers who were there in bulletproof vests with M16s, like, ready to go, sidearms. I mean, there were armed militias there. And so it was surprising to see, which is also, I feel like is a lesson for, the Antifa, left, whoever. It's like, what kind of fight are you picking here? And, not saying, I think absolutely that Nazis and neo-Nazis and self-described fascists should be pushed back no matter what they're armed with. But I don't know if I'm glad it didn't go worse than it did. I mean, RIP. But
I can't provide enough examples of this. Like there's footage of that guy just yelling the N-word and just like firing at a protester in Charlottesville or something. Or
he ended up being in Berkeley, right?
Yeah, that was And he ended up being like an imperial wizard of the KKK. I mean, all of this is fucking Dungeons and Dragons. They're calling themselves wizards. And then like, the guy in Charlottesville that got his ass kicked, like, went home and cried about it online, like, literally. And it's just, that's the level of, like, where we're at. It's almost.
Was that the guy? Was that the
Cantwell?
The leader?
Yeah.
Was he on one of the Vice documentary?
Yeah, Chris Cantwell.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Because one of the things I heard on somebody else's analysis in Charlottesville is that when you're taking this super seriously, like this march in Charlottesville, or saying like, oh, this is just like Nazi Germany. When I look at it, I'm like, to compare them to the Nazis marching, the Nazi storm up Thailand or whatever, is to give them way too much credit. This is a bunch of fucking like basement dwelling dorks with tiki torches. They're not cool as the Nazis. Come on.
Yeah. The Nazis had style, at least. They had some sort of aesthetic.
Yeah.
So do you think
they were disciplined? They were a threat. They were an actual threat. I think the idea being, what this guy said, this analysis, some professor, he said, I look at these guys and I don't see winners. I see a bunch of losers.
Just a bunch of unfuckable young white dorks that just have a bone to pick with somebody, so they just decide to put it at everybody else that's not like them. And
that's the bone to pick. The bone to pick is with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck do they expect to win that fight?
Anybody else? Yeah.
That's...
in that way, they're as quixotic. They are as quixotic as the Antifa. Because they're like you said, like their vision of this, racial whole thing. It's not going to happen. It's like the people who want to, it's like the hipsters who ride penny farthing bicycles and want everybody to grow mustaches or whatever. Like, we're not going back. It's not.
Yeah.
That time happened. It's gone now. We're not going to wear corsets and carry parasols and stuff. But
I wouldn't mind looking at my wife in a bustle.
Yeah.
What about? Do you think this is the last gasp of something? Do you think this is an extinction burst of some explosion will happen and then things will just sort of, the dust will settle?
What kind of explosion?
Hopefully not a literal one, but there's been plenty of those.
Oh, I wasn't sure. I thought you meant a literal explosion. I don't know. I think when I see sort of in this reading the tea leaves here, first of all, one of the things I would say is that I think the left has made a major fuck up by being so authoritarian and abandoning free speech as a cultural value. Because what this does is by coming into institutional power in universities and other places where young people dwell and saying, here's the rules, here's the words you can say and the words you can't say, and you better do it or else. Then they're just creating a situation where if you want to rebel, if you want to press the buttons of the authorities, like the left used to like to do, then now what you need to do is align yourself with Milo Yiannopoulos and whatever other, firebrand there is who is saying all the things you're not allowed to say. And so I really think that trying to use institutional controls to forward the cause of social justice is blowing up in the last space. Because I don't think you'd be nearly as they couldn't have had this white nationalist rally 10 years ago. Even during the Obama years, they couldn't have had it because there wouldn't have been enough people.
Yeah,
and now
social
with
media.
all of these young men being told, like, oh, you absolutely can't say these words, you absolutely can't do this thing. That's exactly what they're going to do.
And everybody's linked now through social media, so now everybody can be in touch, and all the people that are in the same basement can meet on the same signal and talk and then gather.
I think there's also just a natural mechanism of, if something is forbidden, it immediately becomes a curiosity.
Well, the forbidden fruit?
You look at all the banned books. How I went out and got a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook because I knew I wasn't supposed to have it. And downloaded
exactly. Absolutely.
And now people are looking up Milo on YouTube because he must have something to say. Do you know who Milo is, Larry?
No.
Can I explain who Milo is to Larry real quick?
Please.
All right. He's a fabulous gay man.
Okay.
He's got silver flock of seagulls hair.
Excellent.
Wears cute glasses, very fit, extreme conservative. extreme conservative, and just comes out, and he's a provocateur too. So he just comes out and does this sort of
So I have heard of this
show,
yes.
and he got shut down at Berkeley.
Yes.
Yeah,
he's been banned in other places too now.
Yeah, and he did have a successful campus tour. It wasn't like his whole tour got shut down, but the Berkeley incident was this. I guess you used the word firebrand earlier. It was sort of the firebrand of this whole discussion now. And then that other guy, Charles Murray, who wrote The Bell Curve about like scientifically proving that black people are dumber than white people.
That's.
Well, I mean, that wasn't exactly what he was saying.
I'm not trying. Sorry, I'm not trying to erase Charles Murray on the podcast.
No, I think that you and me, two people who have probably not read The Bell Curve, should definitely have a debate about The Bell Curve.
Yeah, right.
That's.
No. I'm trying to just illustrate the point that like people were coming out and trying to not let these guys talk on their campus, and that's what's that versus Charlottesville. It pales in comparison.
People do have the right to talk.
Yeah.
It's just other people have the right to talk too. Yeah. You know,
if you ask Milo, are you a Nazi, are you a fascist, are you white supremacist, he'll say no. And I think that distinction is important. Now, you could say, oh, well, the person's lying. But well, fine, we'll let them lie. If they don't have the brass to come out and say it, if they're scared, well, then whatever. You know, when people do have, in Charlottesville as they did, have the confidence to come out and say, yes, we're fascists, yes, we're going to kill the Jews, what do you want to do about it? Well, that's when I say, well, let's put some bricks, let's bust some heads, let's drive you back into your holes or do whatever we have to do. But until people, you know, as long as people are, I mean,
right.
I mean, what Milo did, if I could add to your description, Crunch Dog, what Milo did was, you know, he said, the left said, there's this button over here, and you had better not push it, or we're just going to go absolutely apeshit. And then Milo says, watch this, guys. I'm going to go push the button, and they're going to go crazy. And they said, don't do it. And he says, okay, here I come, I'm going to do it. And then he does it, and then they go completely bananas and flip out. And as I look at the situation, and I'm like, guys, like to my friends on the left, I'm like, you can't have a button that somebody can press it, and you all just go crazy. Because you know somebody's just going to press that button over and over and over and just watch.
Right, that's the definition of insanity. Yes, is to do something over and over again and be like, no, they won't touch the button this time, I promise. No, not this time.
Yeah, and also it's just making yourself be as easy as possible to get played. And I think that if Milo had come and spoke and you said, okay, you're an idiot, whatever, you know, I don't care, then he wouldn't have the following he has. And young men wouldn't be saying, oh, I'm going to go, you know, be on his side because it makes me contrarian. If they said, oh, you know, I think that Milo Yiannopoulos is great and I read The Bell Curve, and everybody in the college class said, okay, I don't care, what else do you want to talk about? These things would just be boring. The fact that they're made taboo is what makes them so attractive. And so I say, like, you know, stop reacting so strongly to some of these things. Not to Nazis, but to the people who just want to come around and stir the pot, you know.
Yeah, with talk. Yeah, and to get people to use their brains and to think and not to just spit rhetoric.
Yeah, and just say, okay, you're wrong, that's stupid, and I don't care, and I'm not paying attention to you, moving on. Not saying I'm going to just shut down this entire city if you say that again, because it just gives the person a lot of power.
Exactly. It was just what I was thinking. Right, you're giving Milo way too much power at that point.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
What else? What else is new?
What else?
That's the other thing we were talking about. Nothing really recent and good has happened. I mean, just more stupid Trumpisms and you know, but nothing. Yeah, which is probably good. I'd like a little cool down.
Why aren't the Antifa down in Houston, fighting the hurricane?
It's a good point.
That's what I want
to know. That could be some way to get some good press. You know, they could ninja some people out of their houses and get them onto boats. You know.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
take all the alligators down?
He was I saw him handing out boxes on the news. I couldn't help but laugh. I was just like, oh my God, is that real? He's never picked up a box in his life. He doesn't even know what thing goes up. Like, Melania's out there just looking miserable. That was pretty funny.
Well, he's picked up a box before, but it was just to look at it to see if it was packaged correctly, and then said, no, I don't like this, fix it, and then handed it back to whoever gave it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Melania's name isn't spelled correctly. Yes, it is. Well, I don't like how it looks.
A good Trump impression.
Like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think there's going to be a big pullback from the current leftist position. I think it's unsustainable that people who are outside are going to get sick of it, and people who are inside are going to get exhausted because keeping up that level of ideological purity is just unsustainable. And so I think that you're going to see a pullback of the current sort of quote-unquote regressive leftist politics. And that's my optimistic view is that, in the next 5 to 10 years, the left is going to refocus and, maybe start making some wins again.
Well, at the risk of being progressive, that they do need to make some progress. I mean, that needs to happen, right? I mean, we need to find some people who people want to vote for, the right people.
Yeah.
Where are the right people?
What about some pro-Tifa for a change?
I like that, pro-Tifa.
That's actually amazing.
Isn't that Bernie Sanders?